For morning today, I decided to skip going to school early, and instead I decided to eat the leftover fries and an entire In-N-Out double-double that is replaced. And there's always a quality in eating fast food in the morning, especially one where it's something like this, and always a quality in eating soggy fries since I did wake up kind of late. My mom took a bit, but is going to pick me up. But eventually my mom did pick me up as she went home early. I got to school around 8:30 a.m. and the teacher humorously said that I have a zero for coming to school late. But he said that we do have an extra 15 minutes before school starts. I practiced writing, and he told about next year to a friend nearby, and most of the class was talkative and relaxed. The quiz was 192 points for 55 questions, and it contained mostly weather, plate tectonics, climate change, and CO2 types of examples. I answered them, and I finished good, getting an updated 141 out of 192 as a score. The teacher took away one of the boys' papers, apparently as they were writing down the answers during the test, but he understood why later on. Most of the time, the class was talkative, and I sat resting later for most, and the teacher told me that I should use a Chromebook online for restroom passes when I needed to use a restroom, but eventually he sent me out manually on his computer. Later, I left a secret note under one of the tables saying if anybody finds it that they should add my stuff online. And my ESL friend continued the test since she needed help with language translation, but the class remained vibrant, it was loud, and there was a lot of stuff going on, and even some of the girls were also calling each other out in class too. As Taryn and Lily left, the teacher said to Salif, "Hey, Taryn needs a friend." Salif said, "Is that my problem?" And the class was in utter disbelief, but eventually it was solved and then they said their final goodbyes. But that was kind of like a surprising moment. But for side notes during the science test is that most of the examples were general about climate change and forecasts of what would happen and theoreticals. It asked cookie cutter questions such as solutions to climate change. It was not hard, but it was on easy difficulty, but medium difficulty if you concentrated. My final score was a 141 out of 192 with a 73.4% as the final score. It is a C, but not to be proud of mediocrity, but our grade is already passing since my first time was a B in general. Sadly, Caleb was not there today, even though the class was expecting him. And if there's anything I could recommend once you guys get to this class with Mr. L is that he's a medium workload teacher, so be prepared next year if you get him or if you get him ever. Sketch notes will also be present. They'll be present later in the year. Remember, guys, not the teachers that makes the class fun, but the students. The rowdy boys are sometimes annoying, but a humorously integral part of the school for both offending you and also making you laugh. For math final today, I talked to Davin and Samuel's group for a bit. Also counts for that mini break-in period in between. Keep in mind, this mini lunch period is only about 10 minutes. Class ends around 12:50 p.m., so I did look around. A funny moment is that as Rayon was coming inside after his final, I was right behind a closed door in the cafeteria, and he came in surprised, saying like, "Whoa, I didn't know you appeared right there." In his perspective, he was probably thinking like one of those school videos where people randomly come right in front of you and people all put memes about it as you walk in. I appeared suddenly to him, so that was kind of funny. But we did greet each other, and I even hung with Levi's group for a little bit, and I made a meme mention toward how to basic with a rabbit coming out of a magic hat. For the math final today in officiality, the first few minutes the teacher gave us was the excess food that was from her other periods, especially from her AP ones, and she kept it for us to eat. Turns out after sharing, I ate and the only last bag of dill pickles Lay's chips that there were, and big credit to Matthew for handing me some blueberry muffins that were there. The teacher later even handed us Nature Valley wafer bars as a result, even though I think my flavor, which was blueberry, tasted like cough medicine. But it was all from her last period. As for the math test, I didn't want to spend so much time on a few problems, so what I did is that quadratic equations that ask us visually about the given equation, and there's four options you choose. Instead of solving it algebraically, I pick out the y-intercept and I plug in 0 to the original equation. Whatever option has that given visual for that y-intercept, I use that option and I answer. And just in case, for that main equation, I do check for vertex form at the same time. I also plug in random points from the graph itself visually and plug it into the main equation just to check for a third time. For trigonometry, I pushed myself this time, and instead of writing, I decided that I'm going to visually memorize where the adjacent, the hypotenuse, and the opposites are located and then solve. It was risky, but I think I got most of these right. The final also consisted of solving two for quadratic equations that are irrational but do not have an imaginary symbol. For these types of problems with the four options, I choose to plug in the given irrational solution and see which one was the closest to 0 out of the four options. I chose to plug in that solution, and out of the four options, whichever one is closest to 0, I will absolutely choose as a main answer. I always use a super X method generally when I can because I don't want to be doing a lot of work. And as for visual trigonometry that asks about how I'm finding what the scale factor is, for example, or X equals, I usually see it spatially, like if the factor is similar, such as like in 20 in the original image and then 80 in the image prime, then obviously we know the scale factor is 4, for example. We also did A plus BI, but I did that manually as it's very simple and easy using the FOIL method. I used side skills such as learning how to solve a quadratic equation and look for intersection points with a regular y equals mx plus b graph. The example was x squared minus 29 is equal to negative 2x plus 6. We solved it using quadratic form, but we plugged in those x-intercepts back into the main equation, getting our y-intercepts 5, negative 4, and a negative 720. I was not taught this, but rather I taught this myself as a mini one-day lesson during the year, and I completed that mini side quest there. For visual trigonometry problems asking, for example, if the skyscraper is 1,043 feet up in the air, we gotta find a boat that's X feet away horizontally. What is the distance between the base and the boats on the ground floor? For these types of problems, I'll do the kind of gambling right here. What I do is that I'd visualize that tall building itself is 1,043 feet, but now put that sideways and see how much we think it is on the ground floor. If it's about half of that, then I divide 1,043 by Whatever number is closest to that number, then I would pick that as the main answer. It's a gamble because I can still be wrong, but let's be honest, nobody wants to spend excess minutes trying to solve a given problem. And later, the teacher collected our scrap paper and gave out free wafer bars, as I said, to who asked, and give a quick recap of scores. And as for our recap today, in total, my Monday's PE final score was a 50 out of 50. The English final score was a 39 out of 52, being a 75%, leaving our official grade at a 91. The current total grade is also 91% in that class. Next day scores regarding world history have not yet been posted, or I have not looked at it yet, but current grade is 86%, that meaning we are most likely passing this class, 90% chance. The next class was Spanish, and the exam was also excused as the teacher offered excused for all scores over 60%. My score was a 72%, since yes, I did kind of hurry up, but the score in the grade was still 100%. As for today, currently, Earth Space Science class score is a 90.96, with the final score being a 141 out of 192. That is a 73% score. Math score today was a 32 out of 40, which is a B minus score. And the official score we have is 84.19%. The score for the exam is not yet posted, but even with a fail, we would be passing absolutely. My score is calculated to be around a C or a B, and we are going forward. After that, I ran and used the restroom after Matthew came back, and I ran, but I was able to use the restroom, though it was really far and all the way in the gym, though I did feel a sense of relief finally getting back. I gave the pass back to Matthew, though the door slammed itself really, really hard, and I didn't watch it, so eventually I gave it back to Matthew, and he put it back. For me, I already handshaked him earlier, which I forgot to say like 2 hours ago, and it was a perfect dab up. At the end, the teacher said goodbye to everybody, and Matthew said for everyone to thank the teacher, and we all did. I clapped too, and outside, I talked to Davin. I spoke a little bit, and I took his hat too. We reminisced about this year, not as much as the Zip and Melanie thing was funny. Ultimately, guys, it is time to move on. I waved to my English teacher, who was also there too, and I talked to her one last time, but she was a little busy. After that, I had some Chick-fil-A my mom brought me, and we eventually ended the day. As a general side note, I would like to thank everybody who's been participating in this broadcast journey with me. It has been a long road, and I do also hand credits to all the people in between who I've spoken to, be it anywhere generally, and who are unnamed. I would truly miss everybody this year that I've spoken to, and it's sad to see everybody go. But like my theory of social play tectonics, it doesn't just apply to friend groups, it applies to school too. Eventually people move, people have to go. That's what simply life is. You can't stay in the same place forever. But I'm gonna miss everybody here, and it took a lot of work to get here, socially and academically. I may make uploads occasionally in the summer, and maybe the raw editing machine will still be there, but it'll be powered down until next year, guys. And as for this, here are the honorary credits this time that I'm going to end the video off with. Thank you guys, signing off.
Oh my baby, got me staring at you. So I'm crazy. Won't you bend that back for me? We won't stop. Got your feet both locked. You get to fly with me. I can take you down for a ride. I take you around my life. Jaywalking, crosswalking, lip locking, but you, I know it, you know it. We make it. So I'm crazy. Oh my baby, got me staring at you. So I'm crazy. Won't you bend that back for me? We won't stop. Got your feet both locked. You get to fly with me. I can take you down for a ride. I take you around my life. Jaywalking, crosswalking, lip locking, but you, I know it, you know it, we make it. can't get lucky with you. I know it, you know it, we make it.